Welcome back to patreon.com/Derrick Lamon. Experience your one-stop shop for your gaming news, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, iHeart, etc. This is The Week in Gaming, of course. To get this show on the day that it initially drops on Patreon, again, you have to be a patron. That will be Saturdays at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, Central Standard Time. Everybody else will get it Tuesday, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. The benefits of being a patron, not only do you get this early and the last word early, you get exclusive audio and me playing video games, stuff that my daughter likes to show off on the channel, just a bunch of cool shit like that. But if you're only interested in the Week in Gaming, of course, you will get early access to that, but you do have access to it on the free feed, so I just want to let you know that. We're going to start this show off with what we usually do, grain of salt. Microsoft has internally begun testing Steam integration with the Microsoft Store environment, intending to bring that next generation Xbox console eventually. This has been the conversation that's been going on for, it seems like basically most of 2025 so far, and we're here in the May, almost into June, that Microsoft would integrate Steam with the next generation Xbox. So you would have, if you're a PC player, then you have your Steam library there, which is cool. The big conversation has been, well, will Sony block this? Because if Sony wanted people with Xboxes to be able to play PlayStation games, and they would just port them over the way that Microsoft has been porting their first-party titles over to PlayStation. The difference is this. Even with the acquisitions that they've made and all the studios they've obtained, Microsoft is still dead last when it comes to console sales. At this point, I don't know if they even care about selling consoles as much. They have a lot of IP, but they're offering that IP up everywhere. So every console being sold, I'm going to say, I don't know at what point they hit the point in sales where they would actually turn a profit on selling an Xbox Series X or Xbox Series S. But when you think about the fact that they're actually raising the price on their consoles, you have to start wondering about a lot of this stuff. Now, again, as I stated, the question has been, would Sony somehow try to block? Yesterday, Insider Xtasis, claimed that Xbox was testing Steam integration for the Microsoft Store in preparation for its next generation console. This has been rumored for months, with Microsoft even posting a mock-up Xbox UI featuring a Steam tab supporting the reports that its new console is more of a gaming PC hybrid. If that's the case, there are some interesting implications. Not only would Xbox have access to decades of gaming history, meaning built-in backwards compatibility, but also be privy to Steam's growing library of PlayStation exclusives. That means The Last of Us, God of War, Helldivers 2, and more. I'm going to pause right there. Helldivers went day and date to PC, so I don't see why I could see why they wouldn't port it to Xbox, but I don't know if that's one I'm exactly trying to protect that much, just my opinion. Anyway, many have wondered how PlayStation might respond to its game suddenly being made available on its competitor, and that conversation has been kickstarted again in the light of new rumors. Windows Central Executive Editor Jez Corden, everything Jez says you should take with a grain of salt, by the way, already gave his 2 cents earlier this year. Quote, for those thinking PlayStation can't block their games on Steam arbitrarily from an Xbox PC, they absolutely 100% can. He posted on Twitter. GeForce Now found this out the hard way. GeForce Now. Corden's tweet was met with some pushbacks as commenters argued that GeForce Now example is about licensing and that it's doubtful PlayStation blocks their games via Steam. The Verge reporter Tom Warren, who reported earlier this year, Microsoft wants to make every game installed on your PC visible via the Xbox app, which lines up with Xtasis' claims, likewise has doubts. Quote, I'm super curious how Sony can force Valve to block Steam games on particular Windows hardware. Warren replied, I've never heard about a policy or instance of publishers being able to do this with Steam. However, Corden insisted that he knows, quote, for a fact, PlayStation can do this if they feel inclined, so keep expectations in check. On the subreddit Gaming Leaks and Rumors, some speculate that Sony could do this by blocking its games from running on whatever custom OS that Xbox uses. Quote, there are plenty of games that don't support Mac OS, for instance, and kernel-level anti-cheats already prevent games like Call of Duty from running on platforms like the Steam Deck. As Corden says, quote, we're still a few years away from the next generation. We're not that far away. Actually, it's 2025, guys. Expect to start the next new console outside of the Nintendo Switch that is launching in 2 weeks. The next new console will either be the next generation PlayStation or next generation Xbox. My money would be actually on the Xbox. Just don't count on playing Horizon Zero Dawn or your new Xbox when it finally hits store shelves. Some of the comments, quote, they could block them, but I doubt they will. Sony has been looking for revenue streams, and getting people on competitors' device to give you money is an easy win, especially since it requires no extra work in their part. Someone else says, so wait, the next Xbox is actually looking to innovate ways that its competitors aren't. Sign me up. Can Sony afford to be blocked from Windows, the OS of 95% of Steam users? I seriously don't think they're going to block Xbox player from playing PlayStation games on Steam. They would actually have to block all of Steam plus the people that play on PC, because it doesn't just work like that. Just blocking Xbox players. Has the gamers seriously never heard of Sunshine / Apollo and Moonlight been playing Ghost of Tsushima in 4K on Xbox Series X for months? I believe that could be possible, but I would also understand that a lot more people would have heard of that if that was a thing. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying that I haven't heard of this thing in full detail. What I will tell you is this. If Steam does this and they allow themselves on that platform, Sony has 10% or less than 10% interest in Epic Games. They could partner with the Epic Game Store, and don't think that they can't pull their games from Steam. You guys do understand it's their IP. It's just like when you listen to an album one day on Apple Music or Spotify or Pandora or whatever, or Tidal, and then you go a couple days later and it's like, where the fuck is this album at? It's their IP. They can pull it. They own the license. That's a thing. It's the same reason games get delisted from, online gaming sites, because they own the license, and licenses have to be renewed. If you guys really think Sony can't block this, you're out of your mind. I know that a lot of you are just like armchair gaming journalists and this, that, and the third. It's like, no, trust me, because I have a friend who has a friend who knows a guy whose sister married a guy who was engaged to this other chick who worked at Microsoft, and they're doing this, and there's nothing PlayStation can do about it. Believe that if you want to. Believe that if you want to. Because you have to understand this. Yes, they paid for the game and they paid for the license, but what have we found out lately? Ubisoft told us, you don't actually own the game, you just own a license to play the game. If we pull it from the store shelf, that's it. Or the digital store, that's it. You own a license to play the game. You don't own the game. So to think like, if Sony wanted to really make some money off the Xbox ecosystem, then they would just port the games over there, and they haven't done that. So if you don't think, like, they hear this, there's somebody in tune up there. It's like, hey, they're going to try to do this, and they're going to try to make our games available for their platform via this way. There's somebody up there telling them this, and then Sony's up there like, yeah, you're out of your fucking mind. That's not going to happen. The best that you're going to get is PC. If you don't want to buy a PlayStation console and you want to play PlayStation exclusives, then go ahead and build a PC. And then wait a year and a half for them to come to PC. They're not going to, that's just not going to happen. Or, I mean, here's the question. How much does Gabe Newell and Valve and Steam really value PlayStation IP being on their storefront? Because like I said, they have a small interest. They don't have a controlling interest in Epic Games. But I don't know if this new Xbox is supposed to run the Epic Game Store. Let's see. Let's just see. Will new Xbox have Epic Games? Oh, it's rumored to feature Steam and Epic Games. Okay. This is from Vice, actually, 3 days ago. A new leak claims the next generation Xbox consoles will ship with Steam and Epic Games integrated into Microsoft's store. This means millions of players would have access to Valve's vast library of games, potentially at a discounted price. If true, it would also bring Xbox closer to bridging the gap between PC and console. Before we dive in, it should be stated up front to take this rumor with a major grain of salt. With that said, the new leak was first picked up by gaming enthusiasts from Reset Era, according to YouTuber Xstasis. Next, Xbox will ship with Windows OS installed and Steam and Epic Games integrated into Microsoft's store. As some Reset Era members have pointed out, Xstasis has gotten rumors about the Nintendo Switch 2 wrong in the past. Even the content creator himself admits these aren't 100% verifiable. There's no sugarcoating it. Microsoft has taken a beating this generation. This isn't Sony fanboys I'm speaking either. I don't take sides in the console war nonsense. In fact, I own both a Series X and a PlayStation 5. so this house doesn't discriminate. That said, I've long believed that Microsoft's pivot to its subscription service Game Pass is a winning strategy that will pay off in the long run. The belief was further strengthened when Xbox began releasing all of its titles on PC day one. But they've rolled back. They've pulled back on Game Pass. You got to have Game Pass Ultimate to get day and date. However, I still think most mainstream consumers don't want to build their own PC or shell out thousands of dollars for high-end gaming rig. And that's true. A lot of people do not want to open up a PC case and put in a motherboard and start putting stuff in there. When I built my first PC, I was like, experience, cool. Kind of a headache. I'm not going to lie. Not going to lie. Microsoft essentially turning the next Xbox into a PC in a box with access to Steam and Epic Games is such a powerful move. It would give console players one of the biggest advantages of PC gaming, digital storefronts that offer regular discounts. More importantly, if the next gen Xbox also ships with Windows OS installed, it creates a gateway into PC gaming that casual players can access from the comfort of their living room. Ultimately, I believe walled-off consoles are going to go extinct and software will become the true battleground. In this sense, Microsoft is ahead of the curve. The recent decision to release titles like Forza Horizon 5 on PlayStation is proof of that. Microsoft doesn't care where you play their games, just as you're playing them. And with the line between consoles and PC gaming becoming more increasingly blurred, this could be one move that lets Xbox seriously compete with PlayStation. Just imagine the first time Xbox owners gain access to Steam's summer or winter sale. It'll be absolute madness and it'll make PlayStation look that much more outdated. That's one way to look at it. That is, will it help them sell consoles? I think. But there's always a push for the console at the beginning of the generation. I wasn't able to get a Series X until August of 21 because you couldn't find them initially. On release date, I had the money, not release date, the day for pre-orders. I just couldn't get a Series X pre-ordered. I had pre-ordered a Series S that my daughter now has. I got a Series X, like I said, August of 21, and then I got the Carbon Black Series S as well. So it took a while. It took a while. When they said, hey, this is the best launch we've ever had in the console space, and then it plateaued. This is a natural thing. They have the games. They just put themselves in such a bad situation before. They can't hold those games back like, hey, this is all us. And if you want to be a part of this, then you better go out and buy a fucking Xbox. Just bad moves made by the people before, and we find ourselves here. But again, PlayStation is, they want to make money off their IP, right? That's why The Last of Us exists on HBO. That's why the Uncharted movie was made. That's why, even though there hasn't been a Twisted Metal in quite some time, we got Twisted Metal on Peacock. Horizon is getting, I don't know if there's some stuff going on with other PlayStation IP, I can tell you that. God of War show, all this stuff. But at the same time, they're still in the business of selling consoles. They still believe in hardware as a valuable, option to offer. And they're not going to let you devalue their they're not going to let Microsoft devalue their hardware. That's why everybody's like, well, Sony's dirty because Xbox is giving them games, but they won't give us their first party games. Yeah, because it would devalue their hardware. For the same reason when Xbox told everybody, hey, it's just 4 games. No big deal. It's 4 games. And then it's like Indiana Jones. And then it's coming to PlayStation 4 months later. Forza Horizon is coming. Hellblade Senua's Saga 2 is now coming to PlayStation. So all these games, they told you it was 4 games, and everybody's like, okay, yeah, believe that shit if you want to. In the comments, every time they said this game is coming, the Gears of War Reloaded is coming. Oh, well, fuck, there's no need for an Xbox now because they're going to put all their games on PlayStation either way. Sony has done objectively bad this console generation. They still told his son, the fuck. They still sold a ton of fucking consoles this generation with almost no new first party output except for the first couple of years of the console. The back half, the first couple of years of PlayStation 4 was not great. The back half, fucking phenomenal. Phenomenal. So, if you guys think the PlayStation, Sony, they're not going to try to stop this, you would be out of your mind. I don't know if if they can't find a way to do it code-wise, the easiest way to do it, and even this wouldn't work because then people would just sign up for PlayStation accounts. Like how they force people to play PlayStation games on PC, you have to sign into the PlayStation Network, and everybody's like, "This is bullshit." It's not that hard. Now, if you live in a country where PlayStation Network is not available, then you need to check on that before you buy the game for PC. Because then you're like, I spent my money and I can't play it. You need to check the small and fine print before you press buy. Telling you that right now. But even that wouldn't stop it. So they have to go beyond that. Because that's like having a fence around. I don't want you in my yard or anything. It's like having a fence, but the fence doesn't lock, or it's low enough for me to climb. It's like, here I am in your fucking yard. You know what I mean? So they're going to have to find something on the software end that would block this. And is it going to run the same Windows OS as a PC would? I would imagine it's going to be an altered version. But so Sony says, no, you can't do this. And Microsoft's like, we'll take our game off your store. Okay, cool. This is going to cause more harm. I don't know. To Steam, it's like, again, to Steam and Epic, how much do you value your relationship with Sony? And Microsoft, are you trying to get a one-up on Sony by doing this? Like, I have a Steam library. It's not that huge. I have an Epic Games library. I probably have more games in my Epic Games library than I have in my Steam library. Everyone's like, how is that possible? I'm like, I don't like, UI is important to me. The way something presents itself is very important to me. And the Steam UI is just fucking god awful. And I don't care what y'all say. Well, that doesn't matter. To me, it does. To me, it 100% does. There are some advantages, however, to Steam over Epic Games. Epic Games does not have DualSense support, or it didn't the last time I checked. Let's see if they've added that, because I haven't played with the DualSense on my PC in a while. Epic Games Store have DualSense support. How support may depend on specific games and how it's implemented. Okay. Anyway, yeah, this is going to be very, very interesting. We're inching closer and closer. These are not going to just simply be consoles, like plug and play set-top boxes. I think that we're now in the next generation of follow the leader. And everybody's like, how are they following? Well, because Nintendo did the Wii, and then after that, PlayStation comes out with the Move, and Microsoft comes out with the Kinect. They didn't innovate anything. They just said, this is working for Nintendo. They're selling a lot of fucking consoles to people's grandparents. Everybody's playing the fucking Wii and playing Wii Sports. So we got to find out a way to cash in on that money, because we're not going to let them have all of it to themselves. So for them, it was just easier to like R&D something that, you know, where you can do full body movements. And that didn't work out. It didn't work out. The Kinect on the Xbox 360 was fine. When they tried to lead the Xbox One with the Kinect, that's where they fucked up, because they came in $100 higher than Sony did with the PlayStation 4. And that made the decision very, very easy for people who did not have, like, it's like, they're coming in, like, and remember, Sony cut $200 or $100 off of console, if you think about it, because the PlayStation 3 launched with two SKUs, one at $400, one at $500 and one at $600. So Sony dropped in price and Microsoft increased in price. It did not look good. This generation, Xbox Series X, $500, PlayStation 5, $500 if you get the disc drive. Xbox Series S, less of a console, $300, PlayStation 5, no disc drive, $400, but the same console. Microsoft is trying to, like, it's like when somebody's trying to push you out of a door and you're sticking your foot in the door to keep it open. That's what Microsoft is trying to do here. But I would bet dollars to motherfucking donuts that Sony is not going to take this line down. That it's not going to. I'm telling you that right now. Speaking of the good folks over at Team Green, coming to Game Pass Ultimate Monster Train 2, May 21st. Tales of Kanzara Zal, May 22nd. To a T, May 28th. Spray Paint Simulator, May 29th. It's really going to put asses in the seats. That comes to the Ultimate tier. Standard Creatures of Ava, or Ava, I don't know, May 22nd. Sinuous Saga Hellblade, May 22nd. Stalker 2, May 22nd. The Division 2, May 27th. Metaphor ReFantazio, May 29th. Crypt Custodian, June 3rd. And Symphonia, June 3rd as well. So by the time you guys hear it, more than half of these games will be available on Xbox Game Pass, so check those out. Really quickly, we have found out Nintendo will be at Gamescom this year. That's August 20th through the 24th. I'm really looking forward to this. I would like to know what's happening with the next Mario game, or I would hope to see that. I don't think they're going to give anything to Jeff Keighley for Summer Game Fest, so I would hope Nintendo's going to have a direct, but I want to know what's going on with the next 3D Mario game, or at least a platform or a side-scroller Mario game. But we need, it's crazy to think that a Nintendo console is going to launch here within the next 2 weeks and it won't launch with a Mario title outside. And don't get me wrong, there's Mario Kart, but that's not a Mario adventure title. That's what I'm talking about. So, I don't know. But yeah, Nintendo will be at Gamescom this year. Again, that's August 20th through the 24th. In other news, Epic Games versus Apple court update. Epic asked the court to make Apple follow a previous court order. The judge wants Apple to explain why they haven't complied yet. Apple now has to resolve the issue or go to court hearing next week. They have 2 days to make a response. Then they did. Fortnite is back on the App Store. So if you want to put it on your iPhone or your iPad or whatever, Fortnite's there. You would then sign in with either your Epic Games information or your PlayStation network account information or your Xbox account information, whichever. But if you're Fortnite crazy, like, my nieces and everybody else, my nephews and my kid and every fucking body else who like lightly games, and that's not to shit on those people at all. But if you're Fortnite crazy, you want to play on the go, well, you have the opportunity. It is back on the game store at this point. So shout out to them. As I mentioned this in the whole rant earlier, this comes from our good friends at VideoGamesChronicle.com. Xbox's Hellblade 2 is officially coming to PlayStation 5 this summer with PS5 Pro enhancements. Just 4 games, right? The game, which was released for Xbox and PC in 2024, will be released on PlayStation 5 to celebrate its 1-year anniversary. No specific release date was listed. The PlayStation 5 version of the game will also include new features that will come to PC and Xbox at the same time as a free patch. However, these weren't detailed. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 arrives optimized for PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5 Pro Enhanced with added features and immersive haptic feedback for new ways to experience the award-winning and critically acclaimed next chapter of Senua's story, according to PlayStation Store listing for the game. VGC's Hellblade 2 review says it was a mechanically dated game carried along by its incredible presentational flair. Fans of the first game could perhaps split it across a few nights for a better experience, and Milena Juergen's performance deserves to be seen. We said it also deserves a more engaging experience. However, Xbox announced last February plans to bring a wave of games to PlayStation and Nintendo Switch, and what appeared to be a significant change of strategy, starting with Pentiment, Hi-Fi Rush, Sea of Thieves, and Grounded. Doom: The Dark Ages, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and Forza Horizon 5 have all made their way to PlayStation, with it being widely speculated that all of Microsoft's first-party titles will also come to Sony's console going forward. Last November, Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer reiterated that the company won't rule out any first-party Xbox game potentially coming to rival platforms such as PlayStation and Nintendo in the future. So, buckle up, guys. It's going to be a hell of a ride. But they believe that this Xbox PC console hybrid is going to solve all of their problems. I don't, but it is what it is. Not my circus, not my monkey. Speaking of PlayStation, I saw this had the timeline in a frenzy, all my Sony boys. Shout out to you. This comes from PlayStation.com, PlayStation.blog. PlayStation Stars is coming to a close as SIE evaluates new ways to evolve future loyalty program efforts. Qualifying points are redeemable until November 2026. At Sony Interactive, we're also always experimenting with new and exciting ways to bring our community of players together to share the joys of gaming and create lasting memories. That's why 3 years ago we created PlayStation Stars, a loyalty program to celebrate our players. The unique program includes playing games to earn rewards, including our unique digital collectibles that pay homage to incredible games and our PlayStation legacy. The program has helped foster a deeper connection with fans around the world. Since launching the program, we've learned a lot from evaluating the types of activities our players respond best to, and as a company, we are always evolving with player and industry trends. Through this evaluation, we have decided to refocus our efforts and will be winding down the current version of PlayStation Stars. We will continue to evaluate our key findings from this program and are looking into ways to build upon these learnings. Here are some key things to know as these changes take place. Starting today, PlayStation Stars will no longer accept new members for this version of the program. If members choose to cancel their PlayStation Stars membership starting today, it will not be possible to rejoin this version of the program, and members will lose all earned points. Current PlayStation Stars members can still earn digital collectibles points and level up their status until July 23rd, 2025 at 7 a.m. Pacific time. 7:59 a.m. Pacific time. I'm sorry, 3:59 p.m. And these are times on the other side of the world, so don't even get me started. At this date, there will be no new PlayStation Stars campaigns available or additional rewards or status benefits to earn. This version of PlayStation Stars program will fully end on November 2nd, 2026, and current PlayStation Stars members can continue to redeem points as long as their points don't expire before then. We also wanted to let you know that PlayStation Stars members can still access their digital collectibles even after these changes take place. We want to thank all of our players for supporting PlayStation Stars since the launch in 2022. As we explore new ways to evolve our loyalty program efforts for the future, we'll continue to celebrate all of our players through the various community activities we have planned. The programs we create are all inspired by you, and we look forward to bringing you compelling new experiences for many generations to come. Sincerely yours, the good folks over at Sony PlayStation. The digital collectibles were kind of cool, I'm not gonna lie, but it's not like something like I'm dying over, like, oh my god, they're ending PlayStation Stars. Whatever will I do? Continue to play video games. This doesn't stop anything. But I'm not surprised by this because usually when my PlayStation Plus subscription will renew, I would get a notification from the app like, oh, and then when I would buy a game from the PlayStation Store, it'd be like, you earned da-da-da-da-da. And I totally forgot about it because, again, it's not something that happens every day. But now I was like, holy shit, I haven't got one of those notifications in a while, so this does not surprise me. These loyalty programs, sometimes they can be good, sometimes they don't. I can't think of, Microsoft might have done one. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but Nintendo, that whole little program where you only earned little gold coins from Mario and you could use that currency in the store, I think they sunsetted that as well. So this is nothing, like, this is a nothing burger. This is an absolute nothing burger. This means nothing. Oh, they stopped with the loyalty program. Oh, God. Oh, whatever will I do? I can't use these fake digital Mario coins. Whatever will I do? I can't get a God of War hammer for my digital shelf. Whatever will I do? By the way, I do have the God of War hammer for my digital shelf. That's not the fucking point. Was it cool when you got the extra, you could put currency towards things? Yeah, that was dope. You play enough video games, you do enough things in the game, you knock out these campaigns. Yeah, you earn digital currency and you can actually spend that on, games and stuff like that. Is that cool? Abso-fucking-lutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. But it's not going to ruin my world that another loyalty program ended. Because they ain't the only one. Fucking McDonald's has an app. Everybody, we live in the age where there are loyalty programs for everything. Fucking rug shampooers probably have loyalty programs. How many times a year do you clean your carpet? Realistically. You know what I mean? Oh, God, my shampoo company no longer does the loyalty program. When was the next time you're going to fucking have the carpets cleaned? This is a nothing burger. 100%. This is a nothing burger. PlayStation has bigger things to focus on. Like the fact that they greenlit 12 fucking live service games and basically destroyed a great piece of technology. The PlayStation 5 is a great piece of tech, and the PlayStation 5 Pro is even more impressive. And they've destroyed a generation because they greenlit 12 fucking live service games, and a lot of them shits never saw the light of day. Which brings us to our next topic. Ex-Bungie dev says Marathon leadership was, quote, extremely toxic and humiliating to work with. Bungie leadership needs to be gutted completely. This is the beginning of the end. This is where Sony takes over Bungie and they become a PlayStation first-party studio. A former Bungie developer says Marathon's leadership, again, was extremely toxic and humiliating, calling for a complete overhaul of studio leadership as the studio faces heavy criticism and ongoing morale issues. Bungie's upcoming extraction shooter Marathon has faced plenty of controversy and skepticism in recent weeks, and the situation just seems to keep getting worse. With negative first impressions from the closed alpha playtest, a huge art theft scandal, and growing reports of morale collapse behind the scenes, it's clear that Marathon's development hasn't been smooth. Big changes to the marketing and playtest plans have only added to the uncertainty. When I saw that motherfucking game, myself and a lot of other people said, nah, this ain't gonna get it. We all said that. So why is nobody surprised? What's even more concerning is that these problems aren't just being pointed out by critics on the outside. They've been coming from the inside the studio for a long time. Many developers working on Marathon have reportedly raised their concerns over the years, especially about the push to keep the game focused only on PvP and not include PvE features. Despite these repeated warnings, Bungie's leadership is said to have brushed off the feedback and refused to consider their approach. Go figure. The latest blow came from a former Bungie developer who worked on Marathon, known only as Spirited, who shared a comment about his experience on social media. On Sunday, Spirited posted on Blue Sky saying, quote, "As a former Bungie employee who worked on Marathon, I feel for those still at the studio. Working with engineering, Marathon leadership was extremely toxic and humiliating. I won't speak about the rest, but Bungie leadership needs to be gutted completely." Update as of May 20th, 7:13 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. It seems Spirited has deleted his comments on X, aka Twitter, and Blue Sky. So there's that. Spirited worked at Bungie as a senior software engineer from June 2022 to May 2024 per his LinkedIn profile. His comments shed more light on what appears to be a deeply troubled work environment. In his own words, he described the daily reality of working under leadership as extremely toxic and humiliating, making it clear that the issues are not just about the project's direction, but about how the teams are treated on a personal level. This isn't the first time Spirited has been open about his experiences at Bungie. Last year, after the studio laid off more employees, he said he left Bungie because, quote, "their leadership is the worst I've worked with." He described rampant micromanagement, frequent toxicity, and violations of their core values, and no ability to execute on their multi-franchise vision. Quote, "Every day was a fight for autonomy and trust," said Spirited. "Every day was someone telling me I'm not allowed to speak on any issue or problem in a professional tone. It was on our mind since the last layoffs in October of 2023. We asked Pete, and his response was that it was a lever he'd pull again." Wow. It's concerning me that people are getting laid off. Shut up or I'll fucking lay you off. This is really bad. I'm not saying that what was said, but in my head, I'm like getting this picture of somebody wagging their boss finger. They need to flush out leadership completely. My team was excellent, but it felt like everything else prevented us from doing anything meaningful. He also pointed out that repeated layoffs have only pushed the studio to rely more on contractors and even AI, making things even more difficult for the full-time staff. Quote, "So when I hear they laid off another round of my talented colleagues and friends, I feel angry that they're not at fault. They're not the ones who need to be canned, and every round only strengthens their reliance on contractors and AI. No joke." He's not alone in speaking out. Other former Bungie staff have publicly criticized leadership in recent months. Notably, Liana Rupert, Bungie's former community manager, also called out issues with leadership after getting laid off in October of 2023, further adding to the chorus of voices calling for major changes at the top. It's a wrap. This is the studio that told PlayStation The Last of Us Online was not, it's not worth doing it. It looks good. It ain't going to make you any money. And this same studio then turned around and missed, they had God, what is the word I'm looking for? They had like a financial metric, like a sales metric they had to meet, and they missed it like really bad. And I'm not talking, what's my guy who played for Buffalo? Steve Tasker, I believe, or I can't remember. He missed the game-winning field goal in Super Bowl 25. Like, wider than that. Like, it was really fucking bad from my understanding. And this studio had the balls to tell PlayStation, hey, this looks good, but you ain't gonna make no money. Like, we've got live service shit that's gonna make you money. And then they probably did the finger point, like the finger guns. Like, bro, even though I am very critical of this particular season of The Last of Us on HBO, that show is still doing numbers. Naughty Dog games do numbers. So to tell PlayStation something that's in a video game that is being created by the good folks over at Naughty Dog is not going to make them any money is absolutely insane. There were literally still people playing factions when we started to get a glimpse of what The Last of Us Part 2 was going to be. That's why when they showed off gameplay and told us it's coming this day, and everybody's like, fuck is Factions 2 at? We'll talk about factions at a later date. And then eventually it became The Last of Us Online. And that's why so many people were pissed. Now you're telling me the studio who is fucked up, who has got caught fucking plagiarizing somebody's work, can't meet their own fucking sales metrics. They're the studio that you brought in to oversee your live service initiative. Tell me why that would make sense to anybody with common sense. Don't worry, I'll wait. I'm going to jump back in. It doesn't fucking make sense. It doesn't make sense. They should have, look, man, if Jim Ryan was really behind the live service fucking initiative, as PlayStation fans, we should tar and feather his ass and hang him in the middle of a town square somewhere. Like, we got to bring back shaming people. Because, again, as I said probably 10 minutes ago, Sony has wasted an entire generation of really good tech. Again, the PlayStation 5 is very impressive, and the PlayStation 5 Pro is extremely impressive as well. When they talked about the innards, the tech, the build of this thing at GDC, all the fanboys, the Xbox fanboys, were like, this is a fucking stupid console, and Microsoft's going to wipe the floor with Sony, and blah, blah. And then all the developers were like, you guys are fucking stupid. This is awesome. What they're doing with the IO is going to be incredible. This is going to make our job so much better. This is stupid. You're telling developers who make the games that you play that they don't know shit. They're telling you, hey, this onboard SSD that Mark Cerny and his team have developed for the PlayStation 5, it's going to be revolutionary. And the fanboys are like, this is stupid. It's a fucking SSD. Nobody cares. We have more T-flops than our GPU. We're going to wipe the floor with you. And then third-party games perform better on PlayStation 5, on the base PlayStation 5. Don't listen to fanboys. That's number one. Number two, don't listen to Bungie. I know everybody's like, they created Halo. Cool, great. If you love Halo, great. They created Destiny. Hey, man, if you love Destiny, cool, great. I don't play either of those fucking franchises. I've tried them both, and I was like, I've spent more time playing Halo Infinite than any other Halo game, and I was like, okay, not for me. I remember spending $60 on Bungie when it released on the, I got it on the Xbox One, as a matter of fact. All my friends hyping me. A friend at work, like, no, dude, buy it. And this is where we could buy it. This is where the digital purchases really became big. And I had the Xbox app on my phone. I remember buying NHL 14 or 15. I want to say it was NHL 15 and Destiny the same day from the Xbox app on my goddamn iPhone. And then I remember waiting up for the game to download, and I remember falling asleep and them jumping out ahead. But that's not neither here nor there, because it didn't start downloading till midnight Pacific time, I believe, and that's because Microsoft's headquarters are, on the Pacific Coast. But even when I jumped in, I'm like, y'all hyped me to buy this fucking game, and like, this is really kind of like, yeah, I'm not feeling this shit. That's a $60 loss I had to eat. Had to eat it. And then the funny thing is, I remember when Destiny 2 launched, it was on PlayStation Plus like a few months later. It wasn't that far off, and me and Juan looked at each other like, what the fuck? I was like, did you see this? And I'm like, what? And we looked, I was like, what the fuck? This game just released. Why is it on PlayStation Plus already? And this is before we got PlayStation Plus as we know now. This is where PlayStation Plus and PlayStation, I forgot what the streaming service was called, because you couldn't natively play PlayStation 3 games, but this is when they were separate. I'm talking about, this is a PlayStation Plus game of the month. And I was just like, yeah, this is a fucking mistake. So I've never been high on Bungie. But I will tell you right now, Sony acquiring Bungie for $3 billion, I don't care how you slice it, it was a bad idea. That was a reactive move because Microsoft not only had acquired Bethesda ZeniMax, Then they made the kill move, which they thought would help them sell a ton of consoles by acquiring Activision Blizzard King. This was Sony reacting to that. That's all this was. And it could be one of the greatest mistakes. That's $3 million, $3 billion, I'm sorry, that could have went into R&D for other games. And then you let them shit on something that we're all pretty sure was going to, like, when was the last time Naughty Dog made a bad game? Last of Us came out in June of 2013. People were literally still playing factions up until the release of The Last of Us Part 2, because we thought that we were going to get like a patch that added factions or something like that. They're just like, we'll talk to you about it later. And later turned into, I think, 2 years. I want to say the first time we really got news, they showed that concept art of The Last of Us online at Summer Game Fest. I want to say it was Neil Druckmann, Ashley Johnson, Troy Baker may have been there. I know Neil and Ashley were there for sure. And that's when the worst kept secret in gaming, The Last of Us Part 1 remake for the PlayStation 5, that came out that day. But the game had leaked earlier that day, and then they did the formal announcement at, Summer Game Fest. But that also, they definitely showed us the concept art for what would have been The Last of Us Online. But what the fuck do I know, right? What the fuck does Derrick know? Nothing, of course. Derrick don't know shit. Whatever. And this is very, very interesting. This comes from NintendoEverything.com. Apparently, Mario Kart World was originally planned for the Nintendo Switch. That's right. That piece of information comes from an official interview that went live today. The team was finding it a challenge to incorporate everything it wanted to do, including ramping up from 12 racers to 24 players. Programming Kenta Sao said various sacrifices were considered, including, quote, toning down the visuals, lowering the resolution, and even considered dropping the frame rate to 30 frames per second in some cases. However, the move to Nintendo Switch 2 allowed for everything to be kept intact. I want to see if this game runs at 60 frames per second on the Switch 2. I'm just being honest. I don't know if this is going to happen. Producer Kasaki Yakubi added, quote, we worked on it while kicking the can down the road in terms of deciding what to give up on. So at some point we knew it was going to get messy, but as we decided to release Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Booster Course Pass, we thought that would give us a bit more time to continue development. That's when the conversation and moving it to the Nintendo Switch 2 system came up. This suddenly opened up a bunch of possibilities on what we could do. It was truly a ray of hope. Yabuki would bring up the idea of moving the game to Nintendo Switch 2 in 2020. Sato said, quote, our worries to evaporate all at once the decision was made. He noted when we were developing for the Switch, we often worked. God dang it. Allergies. Sorry, guys. We often worried whether we could find the right balance between planning and performance. Of course, the Switch's system performance is sufficient for developing different kinds of games, but if we had included everything we wanted to in this game's fast world, then it wouldn't have run at 60 frames per second and would have suffered from constant frame rate drops. I think there were a lot of people on the team who were worried about whether we could really manage it, but once we decided to release this game on Switch 2, we expected our worries to evaporate all at once. I remember being overjoyed when I discovered we could express even more than we'd originally set out to. Art director Masaki Ishikawa also shared, quote, of course, the graphics needed to be more detailed, but like Sato-san, I also felt like it was outweighed by the sense of relief. From the beginning, the designers were saying they wanted to make the art richer, so I thought we could achieve that now. For example, team members who were creating the terrain and the scenery were really happy because they could now place more trees, which were key to giving the world a more natural look. This doesn't surprise me. We're gonna wait until we see this thing because we heard today. No, fuck it. I'll just say it. Apparently, so Hogwarts Legacy running on the Switch 2 is not running more like it's not running. Jesus fucking Christ. Some people saying don't trust Digital Foundry. They don't know what they're talking about. So Digital Foundry on Hogwarts Legacy Switch 2 version confirms, quote, running at PS4 levels, 720 internal, 30 frames per second, closer to base PS4 than the Series S, lower textures, lower shadow resolutions than the Series S, using a lot of PS4 assets. Huge difference in assets between Switch 2 and Series S. Series S being the better version of those assets. Switch 2 version is using upscaling tech that is worse than any DLSS and FSR version in the market. Wow. Did not look as impressive or have the same splendor as the PC, PS5, or Series X versions. Has concerning frame drops during battles. All this was in docked mode, which is concerning. In conclusion, the Switch 2 is nowhere near PS5. It is clear that it's closer to a base PS4 more than anything else. It didn't look good, and I'm looking at it right now, and it does not look good at all. I'm just being completely honest with you guys. This doesn't look good, but here's my thing. Me and KG had this conversation the other day. He was like, people are really bitching about this, and we both had the same sentiment. If you own an Xbox Series X or a PlayStation 5, or even a Series S and a PlayStation, if you own any of the other two consoles other than the Switch 2, if it is a third-party game, play it on one of the other consoles. If it's a third-party multi-plat game, play it on one of the other consoles. Do not waste your time trying to play it on a Switch 2. You're going to be disappointed. Everybody's like, well, why are you interested in the Switch 2? For Nintendo first-party games. What the fuck? Why would you be interested in Nintendo console? For their first-party exclusives. I'm not interested in playing Cyberpunk 2077 on a Switch 2 when I have it in my Xbox and PlayStation libraries. And I have the PS5 Pro Enhanced version and the Xbox Series X Enhanced version. It just doesn't fucking make any sense. I don't know why anybody would set themselves up for that kind of failure. I really don't. Play it on the other console. Don't be a fucking moron. And then lastly, this should have been at the top of the show, but this news just came across my desk. This comes from Video Games Chronicle. Sony's next PlayStation State of Play will reportedly be coming in June. The publisher has been trying to decide whether to present a showcase or State of Play, its claim. This is likely to be a State of Play instead of a showcase. Giant Bomb journalist Jeff Grubb stated during today's episode of Game Mess Mornings that other reliable insiders were saying they haven't heard anything about a May event from Sony coming this year. Quote, I haven't either, Grubb said, and that's because something's happening in June. It's a June thing. Now, is that going to be a big showcase? I don't think so. Grubb said back in February that according to his sources, Sony hadn't yet decided whether to hold its annual PS5 showcase this summer or a smaller scale State of Play. It was a State of Play last year. In today's claims, he says the company has likely opted for the latter. Quote, I said a couple of months ago that I heard they were discussing going back and forth about doing a showcase or a State of Play. Sounds like they probably settled on a State of Play. He said, I'm not 100% about the aspect of it. It's probably a State of Play, though, but I have heard June. One thing that I have heard, and I heard this earlier, we will find out, or we will at least get a reveal of the next game from Sony Santa Monica, is what I'm being told. Wow. Elden Ring is coming to the theaters by A24, apparently. I can't find the article, but apparently the next Sony Santa Monica game is going to be shown off, like how they waited to that one State of Play to show Ghost of Yotei at the end. I would imagine it would be something like that. Star Wars Battlefront 3, apparently. I don't know if this is real. Yeah, I don't know if this is real, so I'll just say this should have been at the top of the show in grain of salt, but I forgot about this. And I did see this a bit earlier, so we don't know. We still only have one confirmed date, and that's the Xbox Showcase, and I believe that's Sunday the 8th. And then they have an Outer Worlds 2 showcase right after that. That's all we have. We don't know when Sony's going. We don't know if Nintendo's going. Oh, I'm sorry, we have two confirmed dates. So we have Xbox Showcase and the Outer Worlds Direct right after it on Sunday, June 8th. And then on June 6th, we have Summer Game Fest. So that's what we know so far. We have no confirmation on the Sony show or whoever else is going to throw their hat in the ring, but it's getting kind of paltry out there. I know it's not E3 anymore, but the lack of participation does make me miss E3. It does make me miss E3, so fuck COVID for that. Anyway, that's all the time I got for you guys today. I'm going to end this like I end everything else. Believe in yourself first and foremost, because if you don't believe in yourself, of course, nobody else will believe in you. As always, my name is Derrick Lamon Jackson. That is my time. Y'all have a good one. Peace out.